Good afternoon. It is February the 20th, 2015. It's 11:16 a.m. Head Injury Jane here. I wanted to come on real quick and I wanted to talk about something that, I just currently experienced, and I'm experiencing it a little bit more recently. And, I don't exactly know why it's bothering me more. Maybe it's because I've had some other health problems happening. So there's I feel like I'm convoluted in a number of ways. So I feel like I'm challenged in a number of ways too. But my short-term memory recently has been really, really bad. Perfect example. Come home from running errands and my phone rings just as I'm walking in, and I take the call, and I sat my sunglasses down on the laptop and grabbed my regular glasses because, I'm indoors, so I set the sunglasses down. But the short-term memory is so bad that the phone call was not even 2 or 3 minutes, and I had no idea where I'd placed my sunglasses. So I was looking in my purse, on the bed, on my little table, and why I chose to sit them on the laptop, I have no idea. But the short-term memory, I have an appointment with neurosurgeons to go over some of the head injury stuff and then some of the spinal stuff that I have going on, right? Because like I said, I'm a convoluted person. I have other things going on. It's not just the traumatic brain injury. I am a traumatic brain injury sufferer with multitudes of other issues. So I have a particular set of challenges that are surely not unique to me, but unique to me as a TBI sufferer trying to juggle all these balls when I can sit down my sunglasses someplace and have no idea where they are. And I found them. I mean, I just was like, you start, you look in the obvious places, and then your scope just starts going out wider and wider. You start looking wider, and then I see them and I'm like, why did I sit them there? And I thought I was even checking my collar to see if I'd put them on my collar. But the short-term memory is getting really bad like that. Like if I do something, so one of the things I've tried to do to challenge my memory is I watch series, but we use Netflix, so I can watch whole seasons. So one of the ways that I try to challenge my memory is when I watch, I watch an episode, and then I say to myself, I go to the next episode, I say the title, I say the episode and the season number, so I say that information to myself. And then when I go back to it, I'm like, okay, let me try and I thought for a while I was recovering some of my memory, but I don't think I am. And I think it's getting worse. And I've talked to my doctor about this, and I need to talk to the neurologist, but there are so many things going on that I don't want to do every appointments 5 times a week. It's like, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming as a TBI sufferer to have a convoluted medical history and it be present. I mean, I'm working on other things. The reason that I was hospitalized is yet completely rectified. We're still troubleshooting it. I just was at the doctor's on the 18th. For an important medical process, and very important and very scary in the same breath because it was new to me. I've never had it done before, and it was a whole big deal. And I had ended up putting too much fear into it. It was much easier than what I thought it was going to be, but I was terrified. And there's just all these, but the memory thing. How that affected me was that I was given not general anesthesia, because I do not, knock wood, I don't ever want to be someone who has to be put under for any type of surgery, anything like that. I don't want surgeries. I don't want anything of that kind. I don't mind troubleshooting as much as we can with therapy, like physical therapy or chiropractors or acupuncture. There's a lot that I will try, but I've not had surgery, and I have no interest in it. But they gave me medication because they were going to do a process to me. They give you medication, and pretty much you lose your memory of the time. And so when I was coming out of it in recovery, the doctor had come in. I guess they thought I was awake enough. God bless them. And they came in to talk to me. And then they gave me my paperwork and I brought it home. And of course I looked everything up like I always do. Remember, I've been advocating this. Keep your paperwork, come home, research what's on that paperwork, try and educate yourself. So you can, if you have questions, you can ask your doctor, or if you feel comfortable with your results and everything that's on your paper and the outcome of your appointments, you can just file it and put it away. But, I'm usually someone who's going to have questions, especially when, for me, I had no recollection and I panicked because the paperwork was not actually the things that it seemed like the priorities were misplaced in some of the language. And last night, I haven't slept. I've been awake all night. I've not slept yet. Now, I've been awake for a long time now. And I was up at like midnight writing letters to the doctor. I was. And his lovely nurse called me back today and we talked and she understood. I explained that I'm a TBI. There's no shame. I explained that I was a TBI sufferer and that the medication itself had impaired me, but not just the medication had impaired me, but there's a strong possibility of impairment or not. I could have lost a great deal of what he would say to me if I hadn't written it down. Well, I didn't write it down because I was just coming to. So I was like, so my letter to the doctor was reiterating why I was at that appointment and why I was admitted to the hospital and what I've been experiencing. I wanted to make sure that the doctor had like a complete rundown on why I was there. and his nurse was so kind and so lovely. She's like, no, I think he understands. I think he's got that. She wanted to make sure I was okay because clearly in my letter, you could tell I was heightened. What does happen to me is I do have panic attacks now more because of the TBI, because you feel like, for me personally, I feel like I'm losing great deals of information. And that causes me to panic. And the reason it causes me to panic is because before the head injury, my memory was impeccable. It was almost photographic. So anything anyone said to me, dates, credit card numbers, account numbers, because I was an HR professional. You could just say it to me, or if I wrote it down, forget it. It went to memory. And so this new memory, lack of, is really challenging for me. I'm not comfortable with it. So it causes me to panic because I'm certain that I'm losing important information. So, I just have books and books and books of everything. I write everything down. And that's something I couldn't do at this past appointment because I was so heavily medicated. I didn't have the opportunity. It was almost like, they kind of rush you out of there and the doctor's talking to me and I'm going, and I'm like barely just conscious and barely able to figure it out just to get dressed, And so it was all very frustrating. But just even the glasses. For example, I have 2 pair of the same kind of glasses. This is an up close pair for reading, and these are my distance pair, but they're the exact same frame. I can't tell you how many times I will leave this house with my reading glasses on. And a lot of people would go, oh, well, that's a common mistake, because I get that sometimes when people are trying to console me or calm me down. They'll say, oh, that's a common mistake. Anyone could do that. And there's no way for me to let them know that I would never do that. Well, I do now. And I'm trying to look at my hair. It's like, poop. Here, let me just get that tucked behind my ears there. There you go. Hair just sticking right out. But, it's kind of frustrating. I'm still very, 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 very frustrated by the short-term memory loss. I think that, and I know I've talked about this in a couple of my recent videos, I'm sure of it, because this has really been bothering me, and I do recall that I've been talking about this. It really bothers me that I set down my sunglasses right, just 2 foot, like right in my space, but it was just someplace I'd never set them before. And then I was, there was almost like this panic welling up. I'm like, I know I had them, but now I have no idea where they are. I've lost a bottle of shampoo. I have no idea where that bottle of shampoo is. Remember the tape I talked about, like, I don't know how many videos back, but recently enough, within the last couple of months, I talked about a roll of packing tape that I had misplaced and I had no idea where it was. None whatsoever. And I found it, a couple weeks ago. And so now, since the early part of January, I have misplaced a bottle of shampoo and I have no idea where it is. None. And so what is challenging about that to me is, what else am I losing that I absolutely have no recollection of? Legitimate question. Very legitimate question. You can't write everything down. I can't walk around with a camera on everything and on me to track everything, right? That's impractical. I can't do it. I want to research news. I want to see what's happening in the world. I want to write. There are things that I want to do versus just tracking every little thought that I have and every little thing that I place someplace. I don't want to have to be like, but I mean, so part of what I'm doing, obviously I'm practicing mindfulness as much as possible. And I have been, for the most part, putting everything back normally. This would go right back where they belong in my tote. And with everything else that I carry when I leave the house. And there would be no question about where they are. But that's the thing that frustrated me was I broke my routine and it caused panic. I was like literally going, it went from 0 to panic. Just like when I emailed the doctor last night, 3 separate emails, and his little nurse, she's so kind. She called me back. She just wanted to work, and she wanted to make sure I was okay, and she just wanted to make sure that I understood that she said, I can't speak for the doctor, but I don't think he thinks that. It's just the way the paperwork came out. And I said, well, I understand that completely. I said, part of my problem was I don't have any recollection. Well, I barely have recollection of the doctor talking to me as I was dressed or getting dressed to leave. I don't even know if I was dressed. But he was there and he had paperwork for me. And the only thing that I remember is one thing that I asked him specifically and he confirmed it. But then I still think I had like kind of the wrong information. Because I actually asked her about that and she goes, no. And so that's what I'm saying. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me. And I imagine it's frustrating for you guys. I can't imagine anyone necessarily being comfortable with having such memory loss, just in general. And the panic is something that I guess I could just, but I still get these panic moments that I just can't seem to grasp yet. And that's the TBI. And something that's been frustrating me recently is and I don't exactly know why, but my ears have been bothering me more. Like this, I think in the last video I talked about how they're generally more muted in the background and they don't bother me as much. I don't hear them as much. I don't recognize them as much. Well, the last couple of weeks, they have just been really buzzing heavily in my head. And that's just kind of driving me crazy too, because, they kind of hurt sometimes. They buzz so loud and I'm just like, I feel like there's just no break. I'm just going from thing to thing to thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much, and it is kind of a lot because I am advocating for myself, taking notes for myself, researching everything. And I am the TBI patient. So it's like this challenge. Plus, like my neurologist said, and she's right. And I try to think about this, she said, try to take it easy on yourself. Like apparently I'm hard on myself. And I don't mean to be. It's just that I am accustomed to operating at a different level that I'm no longer capable of operating at, apparently. And that creates frustration just within itself. So then when you know that, you're aware of that, and the ears are ringing constantly, and you misplace your sunglasses, it's just like, wow. And I think it's going to be, I'm starting therapy soon. I've had some therapy, but, I want to make sure that the person that I open up my soul to is going to be the person that I feel comfortable opening up my soul to. And that takes a lot for me because I'm like most people, I guess, we all don't just walk around trusting everybody, I suppose. And, but I just feel like there's a myriad of things that I need to work on. But the short-term memory loss is it's just bizarre to me to have just like yesterday watch the series and today sit down and turn it on. You know, I could tell you generally what season. And sometimes I can remember the episodes. Sometimes it's complete blank. And, Anthony, the person who helps me out, he's constantly saying, I already told you this, or you've already told me this. I'm repeating myself 2, 3, 4, and 5 times. He's like, you've already told me this. And I'm like, okay. And because I don't remember it, I still want to reiterate it. Because I don't remember telling him. So I'm like, well, maybe I didn't tell him everything, because when you don't have your memory to rely on, you question, well, then did I rely all the information or relay all the information then? It's challenging. It's very challenging. Very challenging. Okay, I've gone on long enough, 15 minutes, almost 16 minutes here. I should get off. Have a great day. Take great care. And I guess try to be patient with yourself. Find the humor in it, even when there's panic. I mean, I welled up, I panicked. As soon as I found them, I think I was frustrated for maybe just a minute or two after that. That's one thing I'm glad about with a new mind. I'm able to just go, whatever, and just move on to the next thing. Because why sit there and, stew over it when there's so much more I could forget? Let's just move on to the next thing. But in either case, now I'm 60 minutes, 31 seconds. Gotta go. Take great care. Watch your heads. Head Injury Jane here. Have a great day.